Have you ever wanted to create your own DAX? Well, you can. In this video, we're going to take a look at creating our very own DAX functions using DAX UDFs or User-Defined Functions. What's up, everybody? Greg Trzeciak here with Pragmatic Works, and you're really going to like this feature. Now, this has been out for a little bit, but you may have missed using it because a lot of people don't know you've got to turn it on as a preview feature. But if you want to create your own DAX, it's going to be these UDFs, and these are reusable DAX expressions. This is awesome because basically when you're making measures, you're working in your columns, your tables, whatever it is, you're going to be able to write out the name of the function and have it appear. We're even going to be able to write description pieces to it, which will give us an added kind of layer of luxury that we can use across the report as much as we need. And the beauty of this too is it will be associated with the metadata, and that's going to transfer up into the Power BI service. I know you're excited. Okay, so key points here. Why we like DAX UDFs? Well, first of all, you can create your own DAX. That's awesome. But it's reusability. So certain things that you use consistently, not talking about a calculation group, right? We're going to just group and throw it into a visual or something along those lines. No, a piece of a calculation that you custom built that you use a lot. Why rewrite it? Why copy paste it? Just make your own function. That is going to be really, really awesome. This is going to keep things really clean so you can organize all that you're building. Maybe you need to pass it on to someone. It'll be nice and easy to do. This will also help with performance because just like you might do with variables, lump those things in, query them once. We have a similar functionality and optimization here. It will also help us if we're doing any really cool kind of dynamic filtering or any kind of use cases in which we want to compound that logic, maybe use some field parameters, have that as a part of it too. It just makes that process easier as well. All right, what are some examples? Well, here's what it's going to look like. This is going to be in the DAX Query View. That's where we're going to go to in a moment. And you can see the keywords here. Define function. What about a profit margin? Well, we know profit margin. We might want to take our revenue, take our cost, figure out what that is, and divide it by revenue again. What about time intelligence? Well, we could do something like that as well. And there's two pieces to the puzzle here, right? The function, then we want to actually see maybe how it comes out with evaluate to test. So we can lump the function up, create that, reuse it. We're going to need to turn it on. We're going to need to go to the DAX Query View, which is kind of a weird spot for some people, but don't worry, I'll show you the way. All right, I've just got a basic Power BI report here, but what we're going to do, you literally can really build this with almost anything to see some of the functionality because we're going to do some somewhat static ones to start. And you'll see some of the use cases grow as you get more comfortable. All right, first things first, we need to go to our preview features. So I'm going to go up in the corner here, click on File, drop down to the bottom to Options and Settings, Options again. And then for this here, we need to look for Global. We're going to go all the way down to our preview features. And then we're going to scroll down a little bit here and you see lots of preview features, but specifically DAX User-Defined Functions, UDFs. You're going to select that. We'll press OK. This is going to require a restart like most preview features as you turn them on. So we'll press OK. Okay, we're back. Now, how we're going to do this is we're going to head on over to the DAX Query View. There's also the ability to work with this in the Tyndall view if you want to write it there, the one down below. But since this is DAX, we're going to focus on the DAX Query View. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new query. I've got my kind of basic starting one here, and I've got query 2 here, which is totally blank. Let's look at what some of these things do. The first one is going to be evaluate. Let's keep it very simple. Evaluate. And what I'm going to do here is evaluate something from the table. You can kind of see that in query 1. It says evaluate top N. So if I were to run that sample that it gave me, I'm going to get a preview down here. That's the DAX Query View. See the product without having to build it, throw it in the visual, and repeat. We can kind of do that here. But we're going to do that with Query 2. And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to evaluate, and I'm going to use row to essentially return a row with some data. And I'm going to fill in the data. I just want to see the product with evaluate. And I'm just going to say, all right, the message that I want to give is, hello, Greg. I'm going to close that up, and we're going to see evaluate in action here. So I'll take this and run. And I've got my one column called message, and the context inside the actual row is hello, Greg. All right, that is evaluate. Now we need to look at define and function, and then actually put this to work. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to go above here, and I'm going to take away evaluate. We're going to write this a little bit differently, and I'm going to replace it with define. So this is define, and that's going to allow me to define the next piece I want here, which is the function, the actual DAX function. Now, the row here can get a little bit funky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take row out of this for a moment, and I'm just going to keep hello, Greg. You can put hello, whatever your name is out there. Now, once we have define and function, I've got hello, Greg. What I'm going to do is after function, I'm going to give the function a name, which is fn, just so I remember function, underscore message, just like as if I was writing a variable, the name, and then the equal sign. So I'm saying this function, the output here is hello, Greg. With this user-defined functions in DAX Query, there's a little extra piece we're going to add here. Right before, I'm going to do an open and close parentheses, an equal sign, and then this alligator symbol. So this is going to help me define what's going on here. And notice immediately the change, there's update model with change. What happens if I run this? All right, I think I'm ready to update the model. I didn't get any crazy things. I don't see any errors. So I'm going to update the model with the change, and we're going to update the model. All right, so what does that mean for us? Let's go ahead to the report view. Let's go to new measure, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call it my test measure. And let's do fn and see what pops up. Okay, fn underscore message is here, built into the DAX library. I can run that right here, have my measure. Let's put it into the table. What does it actually provide? Hello, Greg. That is awesome. Now, obviously, you wouldn't want to do it this simple and just provide kind of those simple values. You'd actually want to write out some DAX, but the functionality is the same, right? The next piece would be adding sums and other things like that right here. The last cool thing here is those descriptions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a triple /, and then I'm going to say it returns a greeting message. I'm also going to do a second comment line here where I say at, and I'm going to put the name here, fn underscore message. This includes parameters and other pieces in the description you want associated with the DAX UDF. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to update this here. And now when I go and let's say I go to the report view, I make a new measure. I'm going to call it my test2. When I go here and I do fn underscore, notice here, there's a little bit of a message that pops up. If I hover, do a little read more, I can see these pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and re-update this here. All right, returns my function here. Let's re-update it. Go back to my test2. Let's give it a shot. fn, and there it goes, right? Returns the greeting message. Here's what it's doing. There's a lot of components to that you can add in. And obviously in this, you want to actually do some more calculations, but that is the basic framework for your DAX UDFs. If you want to find out more about DAX, get better prepared for a lot more, check out our Pragmatic Works on-demand learning. If you use Greg40 in your checkout for a year subscription, you're going to be able to look at stuff like this, as well as a ton of other DAX classes. I can't wait to see you there. This has been Greg Trzeciak with Pragmatic Works. Stay pragmatic.